Hello and welcome to Quarter Like Your Car Brochure channel, and in today's episode it's the turn of the third generation Ford Fiesta. Hello and welcome back, and Quarter Like, if you don't know, we're a car brochure channel. We look at cars from around the world for the 60s, 70s, 80s and 90s here on YouTube. Only a very small channel, so we kind of ask you, if you do enjoy the video, please do subscribe and like. It does help us greatly. Today's episode, we are in the 80s, although the late 80s. The Mark III or third generation Ford Fiesta arrived in 1989. Today's brochure, as you can see, the new Fiesta, so this is a 1989 brochure, so it gives you a good insight as how that sort of range, and it was quite an extensive range actually, was first launched. So let's jump straight into that now. So here we go, here is today's brochure, and like I say, the new Fiesta. Always a good clue that it is an early brochure. This one's actually dated March 1989, and I think sales started around about April 1989. So like I say, it's a good look at how you got to first introduce this new Fiesta and what all the different specs and trim levels were. Sometimes when they launch a car, the trim levels are only quite small, but straight away the Fiesta, it was a very extensive trim level list, and I did like the trim levels at this time, but we'll go through them in the brochure. The brochure itself is pretty big, so we'll probably not spend too long on each page, but I like it when Ford really used to give you some great brochures. I kind of feel when this Fiesta was launched, it was kind of like the biggest change from the original. And of course, the Fiesta was always lacking in 1 point. Or you could say it's 2 points really, because we got 2 extra doors, so it was a bit more competitive as a 5-door car. I think the competitors had already introduced, 5 doors on these small cars. Now, the Mark IV, or Generation 4 Fiesta, arrived in 1995 to replace this, although it carried on for a couple more years. I think it actually went till 97 when they changed the trims, called it like the Classic, carried on selling it for a little while. So I think it was quite a long run for this generation overall, I think. Anyway, starting to waffle a little bit, and we've got a lot to get through, so we should move on. First thing, I think we'll zoom in on this front cover. And as brochures often do, kind of like your luxury model, your top of the range model there, isn't it? Your gear, and this nice two-tone effect, which looks quite nice. Weird wheel trims on this, I don't really understand that. They kind of like look white, don't they? I can't remember white wheel trims on your gear. I can remember white wheel trims on your sporty one, your S. But did they come with white wheel trims on the gear? I guess we'll have a look in the specs in a moment, but that's kind of like confusing. And then sometimes in these early brochures, they kind of like do things like that, but they never actually launched them like that. So if you ever remember seeing a Fiesta gear with white wheel trims, please do comment, because maybe they were and I can't remember, but that's interesting to hear. Anyway, we should move on. Time's getting on and we've got a lot to get through. So straight into the trim levels, and we're starting here with the Popular. I always like to see the Popular and the Popular Plus. I always like seeing them, I don't know why. I quite like base model Fords, and the older, the further you go back, the more interesting the base model Fords are, because they really are stripped out. But I like it that they actually call it the Popular. I know later on they stopped using the word Popular, but I think it really quite suited it, and it's nice to have a basic car that has a name, because often base model cars don't even have any sort of name at all. So here it is, how the Fiesta, or your cheapest and easiest way to get into a Fiesta, the Popular. So really stripped out, and we'll certainly have a look at some of these images and some of this text. So here is the full side view of the Popular. Looking very basic, isn't it, with these big black plastic bumpers. I always quite like the nicer styling for these. For me, was kind of like this back end, how it goes along, matches the rear light and then comes down to match the rear light. I like that sort of crossover effect there at the rear. Anyway, yeah, super basic, isn't it? So it would have no rear wiper, although you can't see it here. Wheels, extremely basic, just pressed steel. No full wheel trim, but not even like a small wheel trim. Didn't even have a little wheel trim for the centre part either. So super basic. No sort of rubbing strip or anything like that. So, you know, bargain basement stuff really. That kind of like, you know, cheap sort of way of just putting a sticker on there to say Fiesta and Popular. That gives you an idea how it looks. Does look like we've got a bit of an adjustment for the mirror though, the door mirror. It's like we do even get a heated rear screen on the Popular, which is nice, and some kind of light. That's hard to tell what it is. That's a terrible picture, isn't it? But that's kind of like showing a door pocket to one side, which is a bit of a terrible picture. We do get a bit of a dash shot, but I think they've been a bit clever really showing the Popular in this particular brochure, because the rest of the range kind of like shows the full dash. Here it's kind of like does zoomed in on the steering wheel and the speedometer there. Yeah, there's no rev counter on the Popular, but it really doesn't show the rest of the dash. You do get a bit of a peep of it there, but I think they've been clever because, well, it was very sparse, so you get no radio in there. There will be no cigar lighter in there. I don't think they even came with a clock, but they've been a bit clever there, haven't they? Door cards do look a little bit cheap and nasty, particularly at the back there. It looks very hard plastic, doesn't it? So super basic. I do quite like the super basic cars, although they're interesting just to look at and see what they haven't got. But anyway, we'll read some of the text and see what this car did get. Also, there's no real image from the rear either, showing that it didn't have a rear wiper either. But anyway, glance at the new 3 and 5 door Fiesta Popular confirms Ford commitment to quality. Look deeper and you'll appreciate the elegance and equipment offered at an affordable price, and with the prospect of ownership costs low enough to pleasantly surprise you. All this without compromising performance or spaciousness, including plenty of room for luggage. So you could get the Popular as a 3 or a 5 door, which was quite a big thing. It's got a 1 litre 4-speed gearbox, so late 80s we're still playing with 4-speed gearboxes. One piece black polycarbonate bumpers, heated rear window, concealed drip rail, remote control driver's door mirror, 2-position front seat belt upper fixing, moulding seats with medley fabric trim and height adjustable padded front head restraints. So at least you get front head restraints, but you know, by this stage I think we was thinking about safety a little bit more than we did in the early 80s. And then also there it's saying we've got a storage pocket in the passenger footwell, a moulded panel door trim, integrated door lock and handle, illuminated instrument panel with constant readout fuel gauge and warning lights that include oil pressure, choke on, ignition, alternator and brake failure. Then you move up the range to the Popular Plus, which was really a bit more of a sensible choice really. It did have some of those features in there. So we will zoom in on some of these images and some of this text. We can see straight away this is showing a 5-door one, the Popular was showing a 3-door one, but you could get the Popular in this 5-door trim as well. We can see the same sort of wheel treatments, you know, no sort of coverings over there, just showing the pressed steel, which I'm sure rusted pretty quickly and looked very nasty very quickly, unfortunately. Same sorts of bumpers. Like I said, this is a clever brochure because this time they've kind of angled it a bit to show the rear end to say, well look, we've got a rear wiper on there. So they've kind of like hidden the things they don't have, so it's a little bit clever or a little bit naughty depending on how you want to look at it. If we move down to the dash, So here we go, Popular Plus. It is showing the full dashboard now. So again, clever. So you can see it's got a radio, you can see it's got a clock, you can see it's got a cigar lighter. Whereas they would all been like blanking points on the Popular, and they was kind of like a little bit shy to show that, I think. But still very basic motoring. You know, you still not got a rev counter or anything like that. Seats again. Very sort of basic interior once again, really, isn't it, with those basic door cards, but this is the 5-door one, so it does look a little bit nicer at the back there. More engine choice on the Popular Plus. You didn't just have to have the 1 litre. You can see the 1.1 sticker is actually on this particular one, but we'll have a look at what the engine choice was in a moment. Showing you do get a clock at least on this one. Showing a little bit of a look at those door mirrors and the fact that, yeah, you get a radio. So I think most people, I'm sure, would have moved up to a Popular Plus at least. I think the Popular was a little bit too stripped out for anyone other than me that's kind of like a bit fascinated with these basic ones. And yeah, there you go, it's showing that it's got this rear wash wipe. So it says the new 3 and 5 door Popular Plus hatch builds on the strength of the Popular, etc, etc. Wider choice of power units, and now we can get an automatic transmission. Safety enhanced anti-lock brakes can be specified as well, which is quite nice to get ABS on such a lowly model. Like we say, available as a 3 or 5 door. Like I said, the engine choice is better now on this one. You can get a 1.1, 1.8 diesel, the 1 litre. Okay, so it's telling us there that the 1.1 and the 1 litre is a 4-speed. You could get a 5-speed on the 1.8. A little bit of a look at some of the equipment. We've kind of like talked about this, but of course you can pause it if you want to read that again. And the rest of that, and then it says, you know, extra, you can get that ABS and automatic transmission on the 1.1. And the range moves on to the L. Like I said at the start, a great range to launch your new Fiesta with, I think. So let's zoom in on this gold example. So not much really has been added to the L, but it looks so much nicer, doesn't it? Just a simple thing of, yeah, it doesn't have a full, even a wheel trim on there, but it has got a small little centre cap, which straight away makes it look a little bit nicer. We also got a nice rubbing strip on there to avoid that sort of car part rash, which kind of lifts the car overall. We don't have any sort of flap or the fuel filter, no, fuel filler, just a little black cap. And like I said, this is my favourite part of this particular model of Fiesta. It zooms around the light and back round that way. I quite like that. Is that just me? But I think that's kind of like my favourite part of this particular generation. Anyway, let's move on. Badged as so, still a little just a sticker on there, but now we're seeing it's an L model. But look at this now, split fold rear seat, making it a lot more practical. It also gives you an idea how thin that rear seat is, showing, you know, I don't know how comfortable that would be, but I would say not very. Ooh, look at this. Passenger, sun visor's got a bit of a mirror on there now. And what is this showing us here? A little bit of a light. Is that all it's telling us? We've got a light. A load compartment light. So nothing fancy, but it just shows how lowly spec the other ones were to be showing that. And there it's kind of like showing you the nice sort of like radio cassette player, cigar lighter, etc. Here's your side view of the 3-door, and a nice sort of look at that interior, and it looks really quite nice in this sort of light beigey colour with the sort of black accents. Looks like this is possibly the automatic option on this one. And it's talking about how it extends the range. I think the main thing though is that standard 5-speed gearbox. So really, let's move up to an L to get a 5-speed gearbox. I think that's going to be a lot more relaxing, I'm sure. 3 or 5 door. This time you can get it as either a 1.1 or a 1.8 with a 5-speed, no 1 litre option. black body side mouldings, silver wheel centre covers, 60/40 split rear seats, intermittent white function, colour toned fleece carpet, seats and upper door panels trimmed in Madrid fabric. So that's quite nice. A bit of fabric on the door cards makes all the difference, I think. Digital clock, illuminated front cigar lighter, load compartment lights, passenger sun visor, vanity mirror, dipping rear view mirror, radio, and your option there of your automatic or your ABS. Then we move up to the LX. I think the first thing that screams out here is it's got wheel trims on now. Anyway, let's zoom in and see what extras you got on the LX. So yeah, wheel trims now on your LX, and also kind of like you get this sort of like, and I always say chrome, but obviously it's not chrome. There's sort of like bright inserts on the bumpers and the side body mouldings, which I think does lift it a little bit further. Badged as such, still just a sticker. We do get a little bit of a pop-up sunroof on the LX, and kind of like showing that little bit of a bright insert, and then showing that little basic sunroof in there as well. So it says the Fiesta's motoring with a lot of style in the new LX model. The emphasis of the exterior finish is on good looks with special styling details with the option of metallic paint. And it's telling us we can have a 1.1 or, look at this, a 1.4. We can still have that 1.8 diesel though. I'm sure the standard features are what we've gone through already, 3 or 5 door. Like I say, a 1.1, 1.4, 1.8, 5-speed standard. Bright inserts on the bumpers, bright inserts on the body mouldings. Tinted glass we get now, that's nice. Heated rear window with tailgate wash wipe, remote control door mirrors, full silver wheel covers, tilting removable sunroof, and the options again of ABS or an automatic. And you're moving up the range on the LX because there's a second page for it. So yeah, here's a better interior view of the LX. Blue, look at that. That looks a little bit nice, that little bit of blue there, doesn't it? And you can see sort of like the bit of carpeting or material on the top of the door cards, which really helps lift it and makes it look a little bit nicer, I think. Obviously you can see the automatic gearbox featured here. Dashboard, yes, rev counter now. And one more look at that dash. And then moving up to, well, what I always say is kind of like the car you aspire to have, the Fiesta gear. We've got to zoom in on them wheel trims at least, but let's get straight on with that. So there we go, featured in silver. Do like the two-tone treatment on there, it does look a bit classier. Obviously gear badge above that side repeater there, showing sort of a similar sort of idea with these lights, which I do particularly like, and the bright work along there as well. Looks like we get a little bit of a dark B pillar there as well. Does look like white wheel trims again, and like I said, that confuses me a little bit. Here's the badge, and again it's just a little bit of a decal, a bit of a sticker on there, isn't it? 1.4 gear. Trying to see the gear badge just like a sticker, isn't it really? This is showing as a 1.4. You could get the 1.1 though, but no diesel. Kind of like strange how Ford always said, oh, you don't want a diesel on such a nice car. Number 2 here is showing central door locking, which is nice on the, certainly on a 5-door Fiesta, isn't it, to have that central door locking on there. And I think Ford always give you a little bit of a torch key at this time as well. Another basic sunroof, but at least we get the side badge on the gear is an actual badge. At least we get that rather than just a sticker. So the gear name always means outstanding yet affordable, etc, etc. Have pause the screen if you do want to read all that though. So we get 5-door, so it's like we can't get a 3-door one on the gear. 1.1 or 1.4 5-speed standard, black bumpers with that bright insert, and that sort of grey paint treatment on front and rear valances. Wide black body side mouldings with bright inserts. Black decal on the B-pillar, central door locking, heated rear window and taillight wash wipe, remote control door mirrors, tinted glass, full silver wheel covers. Definitely showing white wheel covers though. But I think that kind of answers our question that obviously when that picture was done, they hadn't got the range fully sorted out and they actually used silver, maybe? Or is it a mistake that that's saying silver there? Answers on a postcard. Tilting removable screened glass sunroof, and ABS or the automatic transmission. Interior, it does look nice, the seats to be fair, but it is quite a very plain grey interior though. Other sorts of pictures here showing the gears got these adjustable seat belts, a little bit of a net on the rear door. Of course, a rev counter, like we saw on the previous model as well. But look at this. Extra gauges. Electric front windows, it looks like a tailgate release. A little bit more look at the dash before we look at the actual main picture for the dash there. And you can see where the position for those electric windows are. And we've not finished there. It's a huge range, isn't it? We're now up to the S. Now I do remember white wheel trims on the S, so I think that is correct. This isn't the best picture even on the brochure, so I do apologise, but it's kind of like showing you get this little bit of a roof spoiler on the S, white wheel trims, and I always used to like it when Ford used to give you these little spotlights. The rear, Fiesta 1.6 now, S. I don't mind the stickers on the S, I think it kind of like suits it. There are sort of some other images of it, you know, your typical going round the corner pictures. Yes, it can go around the corner. It's a blurred picture of it going, I don't know, adequately fast. Another sporty movement picture showing some of these images, that roof spoiler, them spotlights, and a sunroof. So this one of course only available as a 3-door, and it's got a 1.6, so a little bit sporty. If you want to read it all you can do, just pause the screen. Standard features, 1.6 litre 3-door, 8-inch rear drum brakes for increased stopping power, but there's still drum brakes, which is a bit weird. Sports suspension with front anti-roll bar, wide black body side mouldings, grey paint treatment, long range driving lights, remote control door mirror, tailgate spoiler, tinted glass, 5x13 steel wheels with full white wheel covers. And there's your options of ABS or a tilting removable glass sunroof and black paint. Interior doesn't really work that well for me. It's kind of like tried to put a bit of colour in these seats to make it a little bit sporty. Personally, I don't think that really worked that well. And then the interior, again, nothing really out of the ordinary. I'm thinking it is describing it as a sports steering wheel, but you know, again, it's nothing sort of exceptional, is it? Nice little image of it in black though, and you can see them sort of overriders and the front long range driving lights, as it likes to call it, and the white. I think the black and the white looks quite nice. And then finally we arrive at the last Fiesta of the range, but don't you agree what a huge Fiesta range it is for a launch? I do like the full range of them really. This XR2i is my favourite of this 3rd generation Fiesta. I've got to admit, 2nd generation XR2 is my favourite of all the Fiestas. This is probably a close second though, I would say. So I've got some nice alloy wheels, these unusual square lights in the bumper. But anyway, let's move on and see what it's got to offer. Well, here it is from the rear. Always a little bit hard to see details on black cars, I always find, but you know, blue, unusual blue stickers there saying Fiesta XR2i, and a blue bumper insert. Unusual. Ford more usually put like red inserts on their sporty models, but using blue here. I do like these alloy wheels, they look quite nice, don't they? You can see the little sticker a little bit better on red here. Fiesta XR2i in blue. These nice alloy wheels, I do like them. A look from the front with that blue insert on the bumper, and these sort of I assume they're a driving light and a fog lamp, but we'll have a look in a moment. And that little bit of a roof spoiler. So it straight away tells us, you know, it's a 1.6 sporty suspension by the looks of it as well. 3-door only, 1.6 EFI engine, top speed 119, road hugging sport suspension, full depth body coloured bumpers with blue insert, narrow black body side mouldings with blue insert, body coloured wheel arch extensions and rocker panel mouldings, dual tone horn, front fog and long range driving lights, central lock-in, tilt removable glass sunroof, tailgate spoiler, tinted glass, 5.5 by 13 steel wheels with full silver wheel covers. So I guess standard it was just with wheel covers, although it's certainly showing alloy wheels on the pictures. Option, ABS, black paint and 6x13 alloy wheels, which it's certainly showing. There is the dash. Again, it's got like electric windows like the Gear had, and a sporty steering wheel, but nothing really special. It's quite a plain interior. And again, you kind of like they've tried to put a bit of colour in them seats, but again, I think it needs a bit more to make it a bit more sporty. Yeah, we've got fabric on the top of these door cards, but because it's a 3-door, we get this similar sort of hard plastic treatment that we get on like a Popular, so that's a bit cheap and nasty down there. And there's another look at it from the front end with them blue inserts. Definitely worth getting the alloy wheels, I think, as that optional extra. Looks much nicer from the outside than the inside though, in my opinion. And also a thing to note, when this brochure came out in March '89, you couldn't actually get the XR2i. It came later in the year. No real time to look through the specifications because they are actually huge in this particular brochure, and also we've also kind of like overrun anyway, but I hope we've looked at enough on each spec level anyway to cover that. But we'll look at the colours. It gives you an idea of the colours on this page as well. Olympic gold, radiant red, Maltese blue, maritime blue, which I kind of like think that most of the base models were that colour, strato silver and black. But there is more colours than that. So the full colour range was diamond white, ivory white, black, galaxy blue, maritime blue, burgundy red, radiant red. There were the solid colours, and the metallic strato silver, mercury grey, Olympic gold, Tasman blue, aqua jade, magneta and Maltese blue. So yeah, like I said, this one's dated March '89. A bit of a faint dealer stamp on the back here. It looks like Nickland's garage in Fordenbridge. No Ford gives you more, it's just a Ford badge on this one. So there we go, this interesting little brochure for the 1988-89 Ford Fiesta. Any memories of these? And I'm sure a lot of you have. Please jot that in the comments. Thank you so much for watching Ford Friday today. Many more Fords to come each Friday, as well as other models during the week. Tomorrow, keep an eye out for the special editions Saturday. But for now, we'll say thank you, take care, please do like and subscribe, and we'll see you very soon. All the best. Bye bye.